Welcome, guys. It's the Gridiron Gurus. It's Keith, my friend Jesse, and it's presented by Famisphere. I think I missed that one on the line. We were actually waiting on a guest to join us. Big game boomer, big Oklahoma fan. Hopefully, he's going to be joining us. We're trying to get the time worked out with him, so we're hoping he can join us here in about 20, 30 minutes. If
Hopefully.
not, we'll get him on at a later date. But until we get to that point. We're going to talk about the FCS playoffs, the NAIA championship game. If he doesn't join us, we'll still talk a little bit about Oklahoma football, what we kind of expect out of them in the Big 12, and then a couple other notes from around the league that we've missed in the past week or two, as we've had guests on and other things to talk about. Plus, we'll have our 5 and 5 segment, which we will talk about our favorite 5 movies of all time, sports related. We did this earlier, but
because somebody forgot to make their list. Keith.
Yeah. The original
Anyway.
the original list for this week, I think, was top 5 live mascots, and
Which would have been a fun one.
it would have been a fun one.
Okay, we can do it next week.
That's right. We can still continue this at a later date. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and get into the FCS playoffs and the NAIA championship game, which was played this past Monday.
Right.
Lindsey Wilson, is that right? Not Lindsey Wilson.
It was Lindsey Wilson
And
Northwestern.
Right.
And it was a game for about 5 minutes.
It was not a game for long. I actually missed the game, but went back and watched the highlights. And I think by mid-second quarter, it was like 17-zip.
It was,
And
45-13 was the final of that game.
Right.
They
just continually poured it on, and it was actually kind of impressive to see.
Walk the dog.
Right.
It was not even a contest.
I remember the text that you sent was exactly that. And I thought, I've never really heard of Walk the Dog. And as I was watching it, I thought, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
They put them on a leash, and they took them where they wanted to the entire game. Entire game, they took them where they wanted them to.
I think the walk the dog phrase may have came from Cody Muse. Shout out, Cody. I'm pretty sure that sounds like some kind of funny redneck thing that he would say.
Right.
And it fit. They walked the dog. If there was any demonstration of walking the dog, Lindsey Wilson demonstrated walking the dog with Northwestern. It was bad,
Which is
bad.
wild to see because, you'll see games in the season, NCAA all the way down to NAIA where teams just dominate. They dominate 45-13. It's weird to see in a playoff scenario or even a national championship game where a team just absolutely gets manhandled.
Yeah,
offensively and defensively.
Unless you're playing Alabama and you are
Well,
Notre Dame or something.
Well, Notre Dame shouldn't have been in the playoffs, so that's another discussion for another day. But you don't see a national championship game.
No.
Ohio State didn't get manhandled the way that these guys did.
You know what's crazy though, and I mentioned it last week about how Lindsey Wilson just ran through everybody on their schedule all year. You want to know what the most points put up by their opponent was? The most points anybody scored on Lindsey Wilson all year.
Wilson. I'm gonna assume 13.
Yeah, they scored a little more than that. I mean, Lindsey Wilson ain't they ain't the Avengers. They're not, but they are good. No, I'm just kidding. But no, 27. 27 is the most points that scored on them all year.
How many did they score in that game?
And I've got it right here. 49. That was actually, and the crazy thing is, that was in the playoffs. That was against Concordia in the playoffs. They beat them 49-27 in the playoffs.
The way you worded the question was kind of
I know.
It was kind of leading to the 13 was the most they had scored against.
But listen to this schedule, and a couple of these teams. They played a 17th ranked University of the Cumberlands. They played a 19th ranked Georgetown, a 13th ranked Bethel, and then Concordia I think they were undefeated when they played them, and they were 5th in the playoffs. And they ran through all of them. Listen to these scores: 49-0, 45-10, 35-14, 56-22, 52-20, 49-21, 49-7, 42-10. They just ran through everybody.
Wow.
And their dudes were off the field. There were some games they were out of the field before or by halftime.
Right.
So huge shout out to Lindsey Wilson. And another stat I had here, I had wrote down. We talked about this last week too. Is 11 years is how long that program.
I think I
has
did see
been
that on
around.
Twitter.
11 years. It's the first title in program history. And I didn't know this, but I had saw a stat somewhere that they kind of like ETSU'd that thing.
Right.
It was a program. They shut it down for an extended amount of time, and they revived it.
Right.
And
it was like 70-something years that it had been dormant.
Yeah.
The program had been not existent.
Right. And they brought it back, and then in 11 years, an 11-year span of being in playing football in 11 years, to make it to not just make it to, but to win a national title.
Well,
the way they did it.
I say the way they did it, they dominated. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Actually, I don't know the answer to this, but you might. How long had the head coach, been?
That's actually, I was just pulling that. Chris Oliver, which by the way, we're supposed to have on the show soon. He's coming on at some point. We're trying to get that schedule worked out too.
Right.
Super excited about having him on the show to talk more about Lindsey Wilson and what he's done there. But they actually hired him in to revive the program.
So he's been there the whole 11 years. He's been there the
full 11 years. Yep.
Well,
so he saw the whole thing through fruition from start to finish,
right.
which is pretty cool.
From a building block to a national title.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, you got to figure when you're a program year one, you're not getting the cream of the crop as far as recruiting goes.
Oh, no.
You're getting guys that, and no disrespect, but you're getting guys that probably wouldn't have got a look for playing college ball.
Right.
You might get a handful of guys in there that could play college ball, but they're going because they know they're going to see the field right out the gate.
Immediately.
Yeah.
I'd say a lot of the guys that they got year one that put on scholarship were guys that may have looked at like a Division II as a walk on.
Right.
Is the guys that they were looking at.
Yeah.
They might walk on at the next level, may go to, like a Northwestern and say, I can sit for 3 or 4, 3 years before I can play, or I can go there and Lindsey Wilson and play immediately. And that's probably how they got most of their recruits beginning off. That'd be an interesting question to ask the coach just to see.
Yeah, what that first year was like.
Absolutely.
Especially as far as recruiting and everything goes.
Absolutely.
But yes, I'm super excited about having him on. But huge congratulations to them. That's really impressive.
Right.
So jumping over to FCS, South Dakota State. Well, number 1 South Dakota State, number 2 Sam Houston is what we ended up with.
Right.
And a cool stat for it is this is the first time ever that South Dakota State has made a national championship appearance.
Well, there's always the little brother to the Green Monster to the north, right?
And and then Sam Houston, the team that knocked North Dakota State out of the playoffs, the second round. That kickoff though is at 2:00 on ABC. So that's gonna be a prime. It's gonna be a prime spot. And that's May 16th, which is actually this Saturday. Is that right? No, wait. No, Sunday. This Sunday.
Oh, wow. We get some Sunday football.
Sunday football, some college football, a national championship game. It's going to be a good game.
Oh, absolutely.
I watched a little bit of that South Dakota State game last week, and they look good. They look really good. I didn't get to watch Sam Houston.
I've seen some highlights.
Yeah.
And they look. I mean, they obviously the part. When you beat North Dakota State, you're a good football team.
Yeah.
To say the least, you're a good football team. So, are we messaging?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if he may not be. If he can't,
that's okay.
We were a little bit late getting started, guys, and we apologize. We may actually, we were talking before the show that we may actually look at maybe moving the time if needed, just to better accommodate everybody and better accommodate us, especially. With the scheduling.
Absolutely. But anyways, that'd be a cool game to watch on Sunday, just to see. And it's really a cool thing. And we talked about this in one of our earlier podcasts. I know it got released, but the spring football for FCS and NAIA is where these guys are really going to be able to have a national spotlight. They're not having to compete with the Division I, Division II games that are going to, dominate ESPN, ABC, CBS, all of the major networks. They're getting a national televised game for the national championship game, and it's going to be on Sunday. There's no other football on, so what are you going to watch?
Yeah.
You going to watch NASCAR or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely.
I'm not knocking NASCAR. I'm just saying, it could be a good compliment to NASCAR.
It will be. And, there's no other football.
Right, there's no other football.
So if you want to watch football, unless you want to watch a classic,
right.
ESPN Classic game, there you go.
Right.
And we just finished up the NFL draft.
Right. I was gonna say the draft's over.
It's over. Obviously there are players on both these teams that may have aspirations of playing. You never know. We could see some of these guys get contract offer at the close of this game.
And that's the only thing that hurts having the spring football is the NFL draft happens, and then these drafts are happening, or these games are playing after the draft, and some of these guys and I think a lot of them are going to do what Billy Hall did and take advantage of
that's
the
what I was
COVID
going to
year
say. Yeah,
and
take a
go
COVID
back,
year.
and increase their draft stock at the least. But you never know. There could be a guy that gets offered a practice squad job and thinks that he can make a team and takes that over coming back to play another year.
Right.
So you really never know. As we're waiting on Big Game Boomer, I hope I said that right. Big Game Boomer.
Big Game Boomer. And I was thinking about this too. We got Big Game Boomer. I like talking to these fans. These fans are pretty cool to talk to.
Absolutely.
Here, they're just a bunch of college football nerds like we are.
Right.
But we got Big Game Boomer, Clemson Tom.
Right.
We got a guy coming on next week that's a big-time Texas fan. I'm not sure if he actually has a nickname.
We'll give him one.
Longhorn Larry.
Longhorn Larry. That's exactly the name I was going to go with.
He's not going to like that. But anyway, dude, I was thinking about it. I've thought about this just briefly. We need nicknames. And I was thinking about mine. I don't know what yours is going to be.
I have no idea.
But hey, wait for it. Rocky Top Red. Rocky Top to the Tennessee, and then the red beard and hair. That's going to stick. Rocky Top Red. I don't know.
Top Red. I was actually going to go with the King.
The
King has arrived.
The King. That's not got anything to do with Tennessee in it, though. I did think of that. I did think of, but there's copyrights to this. I thought of King of the Hill. Because Tennessee, we call it the Hill.
Right.
So I thought of King of the Hill. But then I thought, no, that's copyrighted. So I don't know.
That's pretty good, though.
But Rocky Top Red, I think that's gonna be my nickname. I don't know. Unless somebody's got a better one. It's looking like Rocky Top Red.
Oh, that's all right. I like that. I have no idea what mine would be. Just to be honest,
I don't know. We'll have to
sit down and think on it.
Yeah, we'll have to think of some stuff. We'll get it though. So while we're waiting on him, unless you have something you want to talk about, I was thinking maybe we could talk a little bit about Henry T. And it's actually it sucks.
We're going to talk about this.
I know. We shouldn't, but just to point out to everybody watching, we're not idiots. You remember week 1, we talked about him going to Alabama, and if he's watching, Cody Muse texted me and was like, "Hey, he's still at UT. He's still on campus," which we didn't know.
We didn't know at the time.
So now we look like idiots. Well, we're not idiots. Guess what? Well, then it comes out.
It's on you, Cody.
Well, then it comes out that he's 100% going to Ohio State. So we're like, well, we dropped the ball there, whatever.
Right.
Well, guess where he landed, everybody? Alabama. And I'm at Stephen A. Alabama.
Oh, my goodness.
He is at Alabama, and it sucks. Man, it sucks as a Tennessee fan, But, and I know it's an unpopular thought, but if you put yourself in the shoes of the young man, now granted, I'm a homer. I would have stayed in Tennessee. But if you put yourself in his shoes, he's coming from California. He has no ties really to Tennessee, other than the fact that he committed. If he's going to transfer, why not transfer to the one school that has the greatest coach to ever coach? I could say that honestly.
It's proven.
It's truth.
Now.
It's the truth.
It's proven. I mean, he is.
They have the GOAT coaching them, and on top of that, they've been a linebacker school. Like they've produced some NFL ready linebackers.
They have, and the bigger thing that gets Henry T to go to Alabama instead of a Clemson or Ohio State, some of these other programs that are nationally going to be there in the national title picture. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the season, but Alabama, just to be honest, is struggling at linebacker. They are needing linebackers,
they really do.
Haven't had a great set of linebackers. I shouldn't say great linebackers because they always have good linebackers.
Right.
But a great set of linebackers.
Yeah.
Well, he understands that, hey, this is not only a national title contender, but it's one that I can start for immediately.
Right.
And you really can't say that even as a 5-star prospect. You step in as a senior and you go into a loaded linebacker room, I don't guarantee you're going to start.
Right.
And which hurts your draft stock. And that's the ultimate goal for him. So Clemson, Ohio State, in that matter, are going to be out of the question as far as playing time.
Yeah.
Alabama needs linebackers. They need a good, solid middle linebacker, which he plays, and he can cover. So the decision for him was easy.
Yeah.
The thing that he was waiting on was the transfer rule, and unlucky for Tennessee on the third Saturday in October.
Oh yeah, and it's, I mean, good grief. Get your brown paper bags ready, Tennessee fans. Just cover your head up,
It's that's going to be a game, and if I'm not mistaken, this is in Tuscaloosa this year. It seems like
were we home last year?
It seems like 2 years ago was when Garantano had
it was
the goof up on the goal line.
What they call that, the Leroy Jenkins or whatever.
Yeah, he caught his own number and
he decided to run full speed into the left guard's rear end when we had a wide open hole
where
for a handoff, we're in the end zone. Anyways,
regardless, which could have changed Pruitt's whole.
Oh yeah, it changes the entire complexity of the game.
Right.
I mean, we scored that touchdown, and
we've
got them on the ropes.
Or we may have taken the lead. I can't remember now.
I feel like if we'd have scored it, wait. No, I feel like if we'd have scored, we'd be back and look.
I do too. It was a close game either way.
Either way, we had them on the ropes, regardless. And I know everybody's like, oh, this typical Tennessee fan, that was their year, whatever.
I'm not saying it was our year, but it was the same thing as when Kiffin had Saban on the ropes in Tuscaloosa in 2009.
Yes.
That might have changed the outlook of Lane Kiffin staying at Tennessee. I'm not saying, we would have beat Alabama.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is it changes Pruitt's perspective going forward. If you hang with Alabama, even if you hang with them right to the very end, you get a little more of a leash. But anyways, that's a whole story.
If we hang with Alabama, then I kind of turn a little bit of a blind eye to that Georgia State loss.
Exactly.
I'm kind of like, well, that sucked, but we hung with Alabama.
He can do it. He can coach with him.
Yeah.
But regardless, he's not there. We've got Heupel, but like I said, it's worth another day.
But I will say, the unfortunate thing, not just Henry T, but we lost Couch, Quavaris Couch.
He
went to Michigan State. It would have been nice to see him, and Henry T, and Banks, and that new linebacker all in the same linebacking core.
Right.
It would have been nice to see what we could have done with that.
Right.
We had a couple defensive line transfers. We got the dude from Kansas that just transferred last week. We got the guy from USC that transferred a couple weeks ago.
And we got a linebacker from Texas. That's the one.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right.
So it would have been nice to see because the defense is where I'm worried.
I think every Tennessee fan is worried about the defense.
Yeah, I feel like offensively,
and every other SEC program is happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like offensively though we're gonna move the ball. I'm not saying we're gonna score the ball.
Right.
But I feel like the offense is going to be able to at least be productive as far as giving our defense some breaks at times. Except for when we line up against Alabama. That ain't going to happen.
It's
just, get ready for that beatdown because it's going to happen.
Right.
But I feel comfortable that we can give our defense breaks in the majority of our games.
Right.
But the thing is our defense going to complement what our offense is doing?
I don't know.
That's my worry. That's my biggest issue.
The biggest thing on that gets me is, are we going to is the defense at least going to slow down the opposing offense enough for our offense to kind of get a breather, kind of come where they need to be, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But hanging back to Henry To'oTo'o, I mean, I'm happy for him because this is going to help his career. But the thing about it is, the whole transfer rule, Nick Saban warned against it. He said, you don't need to do this. And everybody's like, well, it's going to make an even playing field. And it's going to a certain degree. But he gets richer. And he knows he's going to get richer off this. And he's kind of giving us a warning. Don't do it because I'm going to take advantage of every rule that you put in front of me.
See, and I think that's the case with the playoff, too. You remember when the playoff system first came about, he was against it completely. Mm-hmm. And he kept saying, we don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. And it's because even in a year when Alabama is not one of the top two teams in the country, rankings-wise, they may have a slip-up in the Iron Bowl or a slip-up in the SEC Championship.
Right.
As long as they are a top four team, they are able and probably will win a national championship.
Right.
And they've done that.
Right. I agree.
Since the playoffs have been out, they've won all but what, 2 of them?
I think so. Clemson got one.
Ohio State got one.
Right.
I think that maybe has Clemson won 1 or 2?
They won.
They've won 2. They won
one
2.
with Watson and one with Lawrence.
Yeah.
So they've won
2. So 3. There's been 3 playoffs that they haven't won. Every other one has been Alabama.
It's been out since 15.
2014 season.
And then 2015 will be the top.
Yeah.
So they've been out 6 years and they've won half of them.
Yeah.
Alabama being they.
And then again to prove my point, I think it was the 18 season. I think it was it was the 17 season, 18 championship.
Mm-hmm.
They lost the Iron Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even make the conference championship.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have been in the national championship. They squeaked in as a 4 seed, I believe.
4 seed and beat.
Was it Clemson?
Seems like that may have been Ohio State that they beat. I can't remember now.
I think it was Clemson. I think it was Clemson and them on one side, and I know it was Georgia and Oklahoma on the other.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
And I think it was Clemson that they beat.
Clemson beat, and then they beat Georgia in the national. Yep, yeah. I think you're right.
So again, there's just the proven point that he's right.
Right.
They're still going to benefit from all these rule changes that they think that they're doing to hurt Alabama, but in reality, it just makes them better.
It does. It absolutely does. And I listened to a guy from 247 Sports, and he made an analogy, and the more I sit and stew on it, the more he's 100% right. The rest of college football is like a teenager with a credit card. How are you going to get out of debt? Well, you're going to say, well, just put it on the credit card. Just put it on the credit card. In reality, all you're doing is putting more and more debt on yourself, and you're trying to pay for it down the road. And that's what we're doing with Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, I sat there and stewed on that. I thought, man, he is.
That's a funny analogy, but that's the truth. Like that's
right.
a good.
And I wish I could think of that guy's name. He's a great commentator and an analyst, and I can't remember his name, but he's 100% right on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Alabama
completely.
Just gets richer, and everybody else is playing catch up to Alabama until Nick Saban retires, and that's just how it is. The only one that's really not playing catch up to him right now is Dabo Swinney, and you could argue that the other coach, the Ohio State coach, Ryan Day. He's not really playing catch up to Alabama.
No, I don't. No,
From a national perspective.
Yeah, I think he's kind of laterally with Alabama in a sense.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think a lot of that has to do too with the conference that they're in, which is, Clemson.
Clemson's in the same boat.
They're on the same boat, but Dabo has built a dynasty over there.
Right, absolutely. And I think Ryan Day will get there. I think he'll be.
I think so.
I mean, he's took over for Urban Meyer, and you always see the coach after the coach fail, and Ryan Day hasn't.
I'll tell you a
he's
guy.
maintained.
I'll tell you a guy that's going to build a dynasty like Nick Saban, and that's Lincoln Riley.
You think so?
I do. I don't. I
never.
That's
a segue to our next.
Yeah, I know, and I hope he's able to. He may not be able to, and that's okay if he can't. But and we can go ahead and talk a little bit about them before he gets on.
Yeah, we can go ahead, and if he doesn't come on, we'll just kind of move on with what we're doing.
Yeah, honestly, like I wasn't sure about it at first about Lincoln Riley. I still think that he was a little too young for the job, but I think he's grown. I think he's grown into it.
I agree.
But yeah, I think that he's gonna. I think he's gonna build a dynasty in Oklahoma. I mean, I think that the conference that he's in, though it has gotten tougher with Matt Campbell at Iowa State and Sark now going to Texas.
I think he's gonna have a good start there. But go ahead.
Right, I think it's gotten tougher. But I think the fact that it's Oklahoma. Have you looked at Oklahoma's transfer portal?
I know the two guys they got from Tennessee are unbelievable.
Oklahoma is getting dudes everywhere. Like they just keep reloading.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, and I have a note here of their returning starters. They only have 6 coming back on offense and 8 on defense. But even though they only have 6 returning offensive starters, they added Wanya Morris and Eric Gray to the mix. And two of those returning starters, they have redshirt freshman. Didn't know he was a freshman. Redshirt freshman Spencer Rattler, who the dude is a baller.
He was a redshirt freshman.
He was a redshirt freshman.
Wow.
Yes, redshirt freshman. Did not know that. That's Johnny Manziel scenario,
Absolutely.
Because I think he was a redshirt freshman or sophomore during that span when he
I think he
started
was a
getting hot.
freshman, and then he got to the Heisman his junior year.
I think it was the following year. I think
Or
it
it
was
was
a
a
sophomore.
sophomore. I think you're right. And he entered the draft as a junior.
Yeah. But they added, Spencer Rattler's a redshirt freshman who's coming back. He's automatically your starting quarterback.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Marvin Mims at receiver. I don't know if you got. Some of you may not have seen much of him, which he had a phenomenal year last year, but he's going to be unbelievable this season. Especially adding, and I know I sound like a homer when I say it, but when you add Eric Gray.
I think a lot of people are going to realize how good Eric Gray and Ty Chandler were.
Well, see, and Ty Chandler and Big Game Boomer. If anybody doesn't know who Big Game Boomer is, he has made all kinds of noise on Twitter.
Right.
Mostly people grief him, but they're always going to. But he makes these top 20 lists of stadiums, fan bases, whatever the case may be. And I think he had Ty Chandler ranked in his top 8. Or maybe top 6.
Wow.
For running backs coming in, but Eric Gray wasn't even in the top 20. And the thing is though, and I'm not knocking that he didn't put it, but the thing is, people don't understand just how much of a factor Eric Gray really is and how much he's going to be.
I think the reason that you see the list, I actually agree with the list halfway. Ty Chandler should be.
Yeah, he is. He should be
because it's a system fit for him.
It is. It's a perfect system
in North
fit.
Carolina. But I would say Eric Gray is going to be top 12, top 10 in the transfer list. That should be names to watch.
Yeah, and see,
because of the reason that you just talked about.
Right. I mean, he is so quick. He's so explosive. He just adds a different dimension to the offense.
Right.
And for that reason, I think Marvin Mims is going to have an unbelievable year because their running game. Establishing the running game is going to create exactly.
You have to respect it.
It's going to create holes in the passing game.
Absolutely.
And
you're having to bring 3 linebackers down in the box.
Yes.
In the Big 12.
Right.
That makes a big difference in the passing game.
And Lincoln Riley is so creative in offensive. And we talked about in I think it was on the podcast with Adrian and Ryan doing the top 20 list.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about how Lincoln Riley just kept the success going. Right. But he did just give a complete facelift to the offense.
Absolutely.
He took an offense that was a Corolla and turned it into a Corvette.
Right. He overhauled the car.
Oh absolutely. Super huge tune up. Right. But so I think that the creativity that he has there, and then and I thought about this too. We were talking about last week when we talked about the draft reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to that again. I'm such a nerd. I go back and check the audio, make sure everything's good,
Right.
But we were talking about Fields and how Ohio State, isn't really known for producing a quarterback. And it got me thinking, there really isn't a QBU in college football. Well, then I got to thinking, Oklahoma has 3 quarterbacks in the league right now that may potentially be starters.
You got Kyler, you've got Baker, and you have Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, yeah. Okay. And I know Jalen Hurts probably could get some claim to Alabama, but he was he had.
Well, and Baker, Texas Tech can claim Baker.
Yeah, that's true. Baker. But he had a year under Lincoln Riley in which he took a team to the playoffs.
Right.
Right. He wasn't with Alabama. He was with another offense taking the playoffs. So he produced. He had his stats showed.
I think I'm not knocking Jalen Hurts at all. I think he's absolutely a good quarterback, and it showed in the Oklahoma, which I think. Lincoln Riley, this is to your argument, is able to take what he has in his quarterback. Baker Mayfield isn't Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts.
No.
But he, if I'm not mistaken, made the playoffs with Baker.
He did. That was the year against Georgia we just talked about.
Right. And then the next is, obviously Jalen Hurts, who made the playoffs. So I think he can get there with Ratliff. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he cannot make the playoffs with Ratliff.
Yeah. And the thing about going back to him being a QB guru,
right?
Spencer Rattler, I think when I looked at him, it was like we talked about the stars and stuff, but I think he was like a 3-star coming out of college.
I think so. I think that's right.
And now
Baker was a walk-on.
Yeah, that's true. But he is a redshirt freshman. He'll be a redshirt sophomore, and he's already on the Heisman watch list. He's actually a Heisman frontrunner for a lot of people.
I don't doubt it. Not one bit.
I mean,
Not,
that
not
just
with
at
Lincoln
what
Riley.
point do we say, okay, Lincoln Riley is just some kind of QB guru? I mean, if we look up in 2, 3 more years, whenever he ends up leaving,
Mm-hmm.
talking about Rattler, and Jalen Hurts is starting at Philly, Kyler Murray is still starting, Baker's still starting, and all of a sudden Spencer Rattler gets taken in the first round or even the second round by an
Right.
NFL team. Oklahoma's QBU and Lincoln Riley is the QB
Well, I
guru.
mean, you go back to the Stoops there. You had Bradford. You had was it Jason White?
Jason White, yep.
And it seems like there was another guy under Stoops that made it to the pros. And so you talk about the last 20 years, they've had 5 or 6 quarterbacks that's been to make it into the pros and actually have success. You can argue Oklahoma is. I mean, I hadn't really thought of it until just now, but you're right.
Yeah.
So, but let's do a little bit of prediction on the Big 12 teams. There's 4.
Oh, yeah.
There's obviously the Big 3 that, in my mind, the Big 3 teams in the Big 12 that you're going to look at on a national perspective. But we're going to try to talk a little bit about those teams and what our predictions are going into this season and maybe the next couple.
So, I'm assuming when you say Big 3, my Big 3 is Oklahoma, Texas, Iowa State.
Yep.
That's the Big 3 that I look at going on.
That's the 3 in my mind.
And we're just coming out swinging like with the prediction, like our Big 12 favorite.
Give me your Big 12 favorite, and then give me because I've got an idea on a shocker.
Okay.
So go ahead.
I think my favorite is obviously, and I'm a coach guy. I like rolling with the coaches. Now, even though I just talked up Lincoln Riley, and I like Lincoln Riley, huge fan of Matt Campbell and what he's been able to do.
Right.
He's bringing back his quarterback who's a 4-year starter, and they're actually bringing back. They have the most returning starters of anybody in the Big 12.
Right.
They're bringing back 10 on offense, 8 on defense, and they're going to be good.
Oh, they're
going to be very good. So my favorite to win the Big 12, as crazy as it sounds, it sounds crazy, but I think they were picked to be dead last year, and they made the Big 12 championship, and they were a drive away from winning it.
Mm-hmm.
So my pick to win the Big 12 is Iowa State, and my pick to play them is a rematch. I see Iowa State and Oklahoma. That's my prediction. Iowa State and Oklahoma again. It's hard to pick against Oklahoma just because it's Oklahoma.
Right.
And the players they got coming in and Lincoln Riley, but I have a lot of faith in what Matt Campbell's got going on over there, and who to thunk it, Iowa State.
My favorite to win is probably Iowa State, but I will not count out Oklahoma in the title game. I will not. And it depends on how the season goes, injuries, whatever. But I think Matt Campbell will not only win the Big 12, he gets Iowa State to the playoffs.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes, I do. Now, one thing that I could honestly see happening is Sark having Texas nationally ranked.
I
top
think
25, top 10 possibly.
I think
at least at some point in the season.
Yeah, I think the Red River rivalry is a good game.
I hate saying that because it's such a tongue twister.
I know. I hate saying it too. I think did I just butcher that?
No, you did.
Okay.
You did really
All
good.
right,
That's
sweet.
why I didn't try it.
I think it'll be a good game,
Right.
but I do think Oklahoma gets the dub just because it's year one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be learning all the. Here's the thing: you got a guy coming in with a whole new system that quarterback has to completely learn.
Right.
He's got a brand new quarterback who's not even had game reps yet, not starting reps.
Right.
And you're coming in year one with a new system and all that. He's got to learn against a team that has a quarterback who went lights out in a system that he already knows like the back of his hand, I'm sure.
Right.
Against Lincoln Riley, who's been doing it for a while.
Right.
I don't think he wins this season.
I don't think he wins that game, but I do think he has it nationally relevant.
Oh, I do too. I think he gets some wins that we don't expect him to get. I think he gets some surprise dubs somewhere. I don't know where. And actually, while we're talking, I'm going to pull up their schedule and see who they got because I think it'll be a fun take.
I'm going to give you my big prediction for the year. And like I said, I could be completely wrong. I could be completely off base with this. And he might not even be interested in any kind of position that comes open. But here's my big prediction is Matt Campbell gets to the playoffs. And probably doesn't win a national championship. Probably doesn't even get out of the first round of the playoffs. But Harbaugh at Michigan gets fired after this season. I think he has another bad year.
You think so?
I think Matt Campbell makes a jump from Iowa State to Michigan.
Matt Campbell at Michigan would be huge.
I could definitely see it happening.
That would be huge. Huge.
I could definitely see it happening because, and it's not a knock on Iowa State.
Right.
I really like what he's done there, but it's not Texas. It's not Michigan. It's not Ohio State. It's not Alabama. It's not Clemson. They don't have the money, the funds for that to happen.
Right.
They just don't. And I could see him wanting more, to be able to get the kind of recruits that a program like that can offer. And Michigan is the one that would be desperate enough to say, hey, can you come beat Ohio State once every 4 years?
I don't think he beats them once every 4 years. I think he makes it a game again.
It's a knock.
I mean, it takes a while. Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
a knock on Harbaugh.
I think it takes a while, but I think Matt Campbell is the guy that can do it.
Right. I'm not saying Harbaugh's a bad coach. I'm just saying Michigan is sick and tired of not winning the games.
He's
the
not.
big game.
He's not a. I mean, it's gonna sound crazy, but I think he's on line with Butch Jones. I think Harbaugh. I think if you put Harbaugh at Tennessee, he produces the same type of stuff that Butch Jones produced.
I can agree with that.
I mean, he can, because we had this argument, or we had this discussion. It wasn't really an argument. We had this discussion about Butch Jones before,
right.
And I talked about how Tennessee fans, just discredit him for everything, but he was consistent. He consistently won ball games, consistently went to ball games. The same thing is said for Harbaugh. The difference is neither one of them can win in clutch moments and can win big games.
Right.
So I think that they are comparable.
I actually agree with that. I actually almost wonder if that doesn't happen, if Harbaugh doesn't go back to the pros. I think he was a better coach in the professional than a coach in the at the college level. And I mean, the perfect example of that is Kaepernick. I mean, and I'm not saying Kaepernick's a bad quarterback.
He ain't a good one.
But he's not a good one.
No.
And he got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he looked good under Harbaugh.
Exactly.
He did look good
in
under
his
Harbaugh.
system.
Yeah.
So Kaepernick would look, better than what he was.
Right.
What he really is as a quarterback.
Right. He managed the game.
Right.
And
absolutely.
He did what he needed to in Harbaugh's system.
Right.
I don't think that Harbaugh is necessarily a bad coach.
Right.
I think he's a bad coach for that environment.
Right.
When he was at Stanford, he wasn't expected to. It wasn't like Michigan. It's not like UT even.
Right.
And so when he got to that Rose Bowl, everybody automatically thought, "Oh, he's this great coach." That was the only time. That's the only thing he did was that one Rose Bowl win. That was the only impressive thing that he did.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
So I don't know, but I think Matt Campbell at Michigan would be. I think it would be huge. Huge.
I can see that happening, and especially if, let's say, Oklahoma wins the Big 12.
Yeah.
They make the national title picture. I mean, even just maybe an outsider looking in.
Right.
And Matt Campbell, I would say, sitting at 10, 11, 12. Is at some point is he wondering where am I seeing this program go, or is this the highest I can get to it?
Right.
Because of facilities, because of program prestige, and all of that.
Yeah.
Does he look at a Michigan that might offer?
Um,
I don't know. But that's my prediction. He goes. It might not be Michigan. It might be somewhere on the East Coast of the Pac-12.
Honestly, I'm trying to think of a team right now that would be looking to hire, and I can't really think of one.
Oregon.
You think so?
I mean, I don't know their coaching situation. I've not looked into it enough, but I'm starting to think. I don't think UCLA is looking for
Cristobal. That's who's there in it? Mario Cristobal. Is that right?
Maybe. I don't know.
I may be wrong on that, but
I don't think USC is looking for a coach.
You really think you think the Michigan will actually fire Harbaugh if this season? Because I know. Let's just go ahead. Let's not say
what was his record this past year? Harbaugh's record.
I think it was a losing record. I'll have to pull it up.
I know it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember because of COVID. I think they played 10 games. I think he was like 3-7.
I don't even think they played 10. I don't even think they played 10.
Well, I know they were scheduled 10, and
Yeah.
then they only played 8, and he only won 2 or 3 ball games.
Yeah, and honestly, um, in a condensed season, he finished sixth in the Big Ten. Um, Actually, it might have been the Big Ten East, which is even worse.
Oh my
2
God.
and 4. He was
I
2
said
and 4.
I knew
He
he
had
I know he didn't win many.
he had, um, which these first 3 you can kind of give him a little slack, in a sense. Excuse me.
Michigan fans won.
He had no. I wouldn't either. I don't blame him.
Right.
I'm just saying, he had a 49-24 win against Minnesota week 1. His three losses right out the gate. First one, he lost 27-24 to Michigan State. Michigan State didn't have a good year.
No. They didn't.
But Indiana and Wisconsin did. He lost at Indiana.
Indiana was good last year.
Lost 17 there. Lost by 38 at Wisconsin.
Ooh,
That was a big one. This is the one that raises my eyebrow. Went to Rutgers and went to 3 overtimes. Took 3 overtimes to beat Rutgers by 7.
That's not good.
Or I'm sorry, 6. Only beat by 6 in 3 overtimes. That's not good.
That's not good. I hope they do against Penn State.
Penn State, they lost by 10. They lost by 10.
It's not a
And
bad loss.
Not bad. Penn State didn't have a great year either.
I know, but it's still.
Yeah, I
still
know.
Penn State.
I know. The good thing for him is that the Maryland, Ohio State, and Iowa games got canceled because they guarantee you those 3 are losses. And I'm even counting Maryland. Maryland's offense with Tua's little brother under their new coach,
I can't think of his name.
McCoy.
Yeah.
They were explosive on offense.
I think
they beat them. Yeah, they lose. They lose. And that was in Ann Arbor. Could you imagine Maryland beat Michigan in Ann Arbor, coming off of a 3 overtime win at Rutgers, a loss to Penn State in Ann Arbor, and then a loss to Maryland in Ann Arbor the following week? If they didn't fire him after that, then they wouldn't fire him. But is that what you were about to say?
Yeah. He may not survive that.
He shouldn't.
Maybe before the Ohio State game.
Yeah, he shouldn't survive that.
Right. I agree.
But I don't know. I've wondered when Michigan is finally gonna pull the trigger on that.
Right.
And the thing is, though, Michigan fans are just kind of like, meh,
Yeah, they're just kind of like, well, whatever.
We know he sucks, but what are you gonna do? Who are you gonna get?
No, I think that if he has another year like that, similar to that, I mean, even if he plays 12 games and he goes 6-6,
yeah,
and only wins, like 2 or 3 conference games, I could see him being out of a job, and I could see Michigan looking at Matt Campbell saying, well, we're going to give you twice or 3
checkbook.
Right, 2 or 3 times what you're making
for Matt Campbell,
and come into the facilities and tell us what you need, and we will build it. That's just one of those things. Are we getting?
I don't know. I'm gonna message him again.
Okay.
If he's not available, I mean that's our fault.
Right.
Sorry. If we can't get him this week, then we'll try to get him on again next week. It's no big deal.
We'll continue to work with him. He's been pretty good as far as all that goes. I'm gonna give you a few more minutes. But yeah, going back to the Big 12, that was the original topic. I could definitely see Sarkisian and Lincoln having a very intense rivalry over. And I'm not. We talk about the Big 3. Baylor's still a very good football team. Baylor is still a good football team. Texas Tech is still a good football team. Not saying that they're on the level of the other ones, but Baylor is still under. Some of the kids are still from Matt Rule.
Right.
So I could definitely see Baylor throwing a couple wrenches into the plans of some of these coaches.
What's exciting though is I feel like there's more excitement now with the Red.
Come on.
I can't do it a second time. I about fumbled.
Red River rivalry.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. I didn't hear it. It sounded good. But I think there's more excitement around that game now than there has been in a long time.
Absolutely.
And the last time has been this when it was Mac Brown and Bob Stoops.
That's exactly what I put it in.
I mean, that's big.
Right.
That's 2 legendary coaches.
Absolutely.
They're both going to be Hall of Fame coaches, and I mean that's pretty big. That we're at that point now that it's finally back. It's finally should be a competitive game. The big question is going to be how long does Sark stay? Because I don't think he stays there long.
I think he does. Depends on his success. If he is having success Texas, and I'm meaning national relevance. You're ranked top 15, top 10, top 5.
Right.
I don't think he leaves.
You don't think he makes a jump to the NFL?
No.
See, I don't know.
Because Texas is going to pay him whatever it takes to stay at Texas.
That's true. That is true. That's a good argument.
Because he's looking at Nick Saban, and I'm hoping he retires in 5 years. I'm just sick and tired of seeing Nick Saban's name.
Don't hold your breath on it.
But yeah, you're right.
He might die on the field.
Don't say that.
That's not funny to say, but I'm being serious.
It is what it is. But I could see Saban retiring in 5 years.
Right.
Sark is now 5 years into his tenure. He gets a good sized contract extension from Texas, and he's looking at the landscape of college football, and he is ranked with Ryan Day. He's ranked with Dabo. He's ranked with in the top 5. Lincoln Riley, the top 5 coaches in the top 5 program. Now, if he's not beating Lincoln Riley consistently, but he's still having a good season, I could see him jumping the NFL. But as long as he's having, he splits every other year. Him or Lincoln Riley win the Red River rivalry.
Yeah.
That was
you done it twice. Okay.
The whole stretch was hard. But as long as he's splitting with him, one wins one next or whatever, 2 or 3 in a row.
Right.
I think he stays.
Yeah.
I think he stays. As long as he's getting them, like I said, national relevance and getting there, to at least the cusp of a national title.
Yeah.
Or at least a national playoff berth.
Right. I see your argument. I can see your argument. My thing is just like he reminds me so much of Lane Kiffin. And which Lane Kiffin I feel like has grown a little bit. He still, chips a little bit on Twitter and things like that.
I think that's just him trolling.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's just him trolling, just wanting the attention.
Right, but I don't know. You would think that Sark is at this point has kind of learned and grown into his,
He's a little older than Kiffin too, isn't he?
He is.
That's what I thought.
But I mean, the thing that I still look at is like when he jumped ship after Lane Kiffin leaves, he gets promoted to the OC for one game for that national championship game, and then as soon as the game's over, he jumps ship for the Falcons, and then comes right back. I mean, which Nick Saban took him, so that shows you how much Nick Saban, has respect for him and what he's able to do. Right. And, how good of a coach he is. But I don't know. I hope he stays, even though I hate Texas.
I don't really have an opinion on Texas. I've got an opinion on some teams, but Texas isn't one of them.
I just hate hearing about Texas. Nothing. I hate hearing about Texas. I can't even. I was gonna go somewhere with that, but I can't. I hate hearing about Texas. I hate hearing about Ohio State.
I don't like the Ohio State argument, but I get it.
I hate hearing about Notre Dame.
Now the Notre Dame argument, they don't have it.
They don't have an argument. You have been given ample opportunity to prove your worth. Yeah. And you actually fooled everybody with the win over Clemson. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Notre Dame. You fooled everybody with the win over Clemson while Trevor Lawrence was hurt. Yeah, backup quarterback. And even though that backup quarterback still went off in that game.
He played well. He
went off.
He played well.
But they got the win. And everybody's like, oh. And then they get the opportunity to prove it again, and they drop the ball.
And that was in the
ACC. Yeah, the ACC championship.
Right. Because Lawrence was back.
That's right. He was back, but they still got in. They still got in the playoff, and should not have been. Yeah. But anyways, whatever.
A&M should have been there, but that's my argument. Anyways.
No, I agree. I think anybody you put up against Bama was getting beat. It didn't matter.
I think A&M puts up a better game than Notre Dame, though.
Yeah, I do think that they compete better.
I don't think they win. I'm not saying A&M.
No, they don't win,
but I think it would have been a better game.
I do think it would have been a better game. The crazy one for me though is the one team that this is what I thought. Ohio State should not be there. They shouldn't be in the top 4. And you drop Ohio State, and as crazy as it sounds, I was actually fine with Notre Dame. You drop Ohio State, and you add A&M, and you A&M Clemson, and then Alabama and Notre Dame. That was my 4.
Oh, okay, I told you how that would end.
That was my 4, and oddly enough, Ohio State deserved to be there. They were one of
Oh
the top.
yeah.
They were the number 2 team in the nation.
Oh yeah.
They
See, I,
proved
I
that.
wouldn't drop Ohio State. I'd have dropped Notre Dame and put A&M.
Well, and the only reason,
Or even was Iowa State like 5th or 6th?
no, they were up there until they lost to Oklahoma in the Big 12.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that game.
But the only reason I say that about Ohio State though is just because of the shortened schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They really didn't play anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of like, everybody else has played a longer season. They've kind of proved,
Yep.
that they can withstand, that they are a championship caliber.
Right.
And even Notre Dame, as crazy as it sounds, and so that was my whole argument. But Ohio State proved that it didn't matter. They were one of the top 2.
Oh yeah, and they put up a good fight. I thought. I mean,
They did.
but there's nothing to do against Waddle and Devontae Smith and Najee Harris and Mac Jones and a great offensive line and a good defense. I mean,
You want to hear the sad part is buckle up, click it in because it's about to happen all over again.
right? It is.
Alabama, and we talked about, which I'm sure we'll do a preseason prediction leading to the season. But I had talked about how I thought A&M might actually pull the upset.
Mm-hmm.
I
can see that.
I don't think it's happening. I think A&M's lost too much. I think Alabama's just reloading. They're bringing back almost their entire defense.
Mm-hmm.
And in old title town down there, Tuscaloosa, defense wins championships.
Oh,
and so, plus, old Jimbo put his foot in his mouth last week.
Yeah, he did.
Going off on Nick Saban saying they're going to beat their 3-letter word. And that I can't say on YouTube, or maybe I can, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. But anyway,
family program, man.
It's family show. You ever watch that? The pizza review, the family show. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
El Presidente.
Yeah.
Family show.
It's family show.
I hope it's not copyrighted.
I don't.
Anyways,
I think it'll be all right.
We're just giving you a nod, El Presidente, but.
So we're gonna jump into our 5 for 5, and again, I'm gonna set my timer. Jesse, you go over every time, but
he's gonna throw me under the bus.
I am gonna throw you under the bus because you're the one that runs overtime every time. All
right, okay.
5 minutes on the clock. We're gonna talk. This was lost in our episode that we had technical difficulties. The last only podcast we done because we're now on YouTube, as well as our podcast. So what you're hearing on YouTube will be in the Apple Podcast or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast app. But this is our top 5 sports movies of all time.
Yeah.
And we had a good
whatever.
Huh?
I was just over here talking to myself, saying it's not as cool as the top 5 life mascots.
Well, it's
Thanks
not.
for dropping the ball on that.
I did drop the ball, and we'll get back to that. And we did this before. We talked about Stephen A. I don't know if we still have Stephen A's original list. Stephen A's list, and I didn't really agree with it. I did on a couple of them, but not all of them. But mine are more just like my personal favorites. I'll lean more to the comedy side of movies, and Jesse leans more to the more documentary, true to the tale. Things like
sports
that.
Movie.
They're actually, they're feel. Not all of yours are feel good.
No, they're not.
But, anyways.
So I'll read off Stephen A's list real quick before I jump into it. Going 5 through 1. Number 5 is Rocky 3, which we talked about. Rocky 4 I thought was better.
I thought Rocky 4 was better.
Number 4 was A League of Their Own.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, Friday Night Lights.
Right.
Number 2, Jerry Maguire. Great movie.
But it's not my favorite.
Top 5.
I don't either.
And number 1. It was Any Given Sunday. Great movie, and it's
Absolutely.
actually, it's a great movie, but I don't think it's the number 1 movie ever made.
No, I mean, and they're good movies, and there's a lot of great sports movies, but this is your top 5 all time.
All time.
And we talked anyways on the one beforehand too. If anybody likes the Rocky movies, their top 5 movies are Rocky 1, Rocky 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And of course you can throw in the newer one. I can't remember the name of it.
Was it Creed?
Creed.
Yeah.
You can throw Creed in there too, as far as the Rocky franchise goes. But like I said, Rocky 4 was better, but still, even the Rocky movies didn't make my top 5. But
I'll be honest, I thought Rocky 2 was better than Rocky 3.
I don't.
That's where they had the him and Apollo were really beefing.
Creed.
Like I don't know. Maybe I just like that Apollo story, but I think it was
Right.
better than 3.
Right. Well, that's where the newer one Creed came from.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna start with mine, and I'm gonna start the timer, and
We're going from 5 down.
five
Okay.
through one. I'm gonna give the movie a couple quotes, and then I'm gonna send to Jesse because I know he's gonna run over on his time. But I'm gonna try to keep mine to 30 seconds. All right, here we go. My number 5 is A League of Their Own. I just love it.
Gosh.
It's so funny.
This
There's a
guy.
lot of really funny parts in it. One of the funnier ones that I mentioned before was he signs a ball for these 2 little boys that come up, and it's like he signs don't avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's like, that's great advice. And a couple other quotes were that's that thing, round thing 3 feet from your 3-letter word. Right, Jimmy. There's no crying in baseball. All right, that's fine.
Again, I'm not gonna say what I said last time about why I don't like that movie. But anyway, I mean it's a good movie, but anyway, it's not top 5 or top 10. But anyway, number 5, Friday Night Lights for me was number 5.
I like Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights as a high school football player watching that movie, and growing up in a small town,
Right.
it just fits your entire dynamic.
Right.
And it sucks at the end when they lose to Carter. That's one of those moments you're like, that's not supposed to happen that way.
Right. There's actually a 30 for 30 on that Carter team.
That's a good 30
That's
for 30.
a very good 30 for 30.
Oh my gosh.
Very good.
And what's crazy is as scary as that Carter team is on the movie, the real Carter team's scarier.
They're that much better. Absolutely.
They're that much better.
All right, I'm gonna move number 4. My number 4 sports movie of all time is The Sandlot. Love The Sandlot.
Or baseball.
You play ball like a girl, and then there's You're Killing Me, Smalls. It's just a great movie. I'll let you go ahead because we're already over on time.
My number 4 is Any Given Sunday. We talked about that was Stephen A's number 1. I think it's a great movie, not number 1, but
Not my league.
It had
Not my list.
had some former NFL greats in it. Jim Brown,
Mhm.
Terrell Owens in the movie. It
Mhm.
was just a great, good football movie. A lot of quotes that you can quote from that with Al Pacino. But
Right.
anyways, that's my number 4.
Number 3 is Remember the Titans. I love the movie. I know you have them
So
ranked
much
higher.
Yeah.
But it's the Steve Spurrier argument. At least they're on the list.
Yeah, it's on the list.
But anyways, I know you're going to talk about them in
Of
a
course,
few
he played
minutes.
Steve Spurrier in the wrong spot too, so I'm not surprised.
But go ahead.
My number 3, I am going to talk about this one for just a minute. Number 3, because it has such a cool story, is Glory Road.
Right. It is a good
Glory
movie.
Road's about Texas Western. They are now UTEP or Texas El Paso. About Don Haskins, who during a time of a lot of racial tension, in 1965, he goes out and he does something that a lot of coaches at that time weren't doing. He
Right.
recruits black athletes to
Right.
come play for him.
Right.
And they end up running the table. They get to the tournament, and they're playing Adolph Rupp, the legendary Adolph Rupp, and led by Pat Riley, who's
Mhm.
now the Miami Heat general manager or
GM, I
something.
believe. He was.
And
coached
he was a
them for
coach.
while,
He was a
too.
legendary coach, yeah,
Mhm.
or NBA championship coach.
Absolutely.
And but he did something that no other coach would have ever done, and he actually played all of his black players only in the game just to send a message. And what message did that send?
Right.
Like it was
Because Kentucky and AF was.
they were all an all white
white.
team.
All white.
Yeah, an all white team, and so he sent a huge message with that. And it's a
Absolutely.
great feel good movie.
I really do like that movie. Number 2 for me, and it's because I'm a basketball guy, and it's always been one of my favorite movies is Hoosiers.
Yeah,
The story is kind of the same way, not really with the whole racial tension, but it's a small town team. I guess I'll go back to Friday Night Lights. A small town team, and they make it to the Indiana State Championship. And at that time, I know I think they've changed their high school rules at this point, but they just put everybody in the tournament. It didn't matter if you was a 1A, 5A, 6A, 7A, whatever. You got thrown in the tournament. And this little, small town school ends up making the championship game. And one of my favorite parts of that movie is whenever they go to the stadium to practice the day before, and he brings a measuring tape, and he measures, 10 feet from 10 feet on the goal, 15 feet on the free throw line, full length of the court, I think 94 feet. He's like, if you go back to our little gym back home, you find these exact same measurements. It's no different. And I thought that that's a pretty cool story there.
that is.
So, anyways,
My number 2, and I'm sticking with the true stories here. My number 2 is Coach Carter, another
Love
great
Coach Carter.
moving story.
he was on my list, but it just didn't make the cut.
And I'm actually a football guy, but that's probably one of my favorite basketball movies of all time.
Yeah.
Great story, true story.
Right.
And just like the impact that he made on those kids that nobody else ever even thought of.
Right.
I just wanted to get them out the door.
Right.
And he actually took initiative to to actually turn them into something.
Right.
And at the end of the movie, it talks about some of the players that went on to play college ball and,
right.
and do some pretty big things
right.
in their careers.
Changed their lives.
Yeah,
he did. I really like that movie. But my number one, and like I said, it's more about the comedy, but it's Major League with Sheen and a couple other. I think Arsenio Hall might be in the movie.
He is, yeah. His character's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's got a very funny character. I think at one point he's on first base and the guy's like, "Are you going somewhere?" He's like, about 90 feet. And he's fixing to steal second base. The wild thing, the whole, all of that goes in that movie. I love Major League. Just a bit outside. Ball 4, ball 8, ball 12, and Vaughn has walked the bases on 12 straight pitches. So, anyways, Major League is my number one.
My number one is remember. Gosh, if I can get this out, Remember the Titans.
Red River Rivalry.
Yeah, that is my number one movie. I think it's the greatest sports movie made. It's got such a great story.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's like an onion. The more you peel, the better it gets. A lot of different layers to it.
So many quotes to that I still use to this day. Actually, that movie is the reason I can remember that there are 5,280 feet in a mile, and Petey had to pick that ball up and run every single one of them. And so
don't drop the ball, Petey.
Yeah. There's so many quotes to that movie that I still use, and that a lot of people still use to this day. And again, another true story.
That's where Trevor Lawrence got the nickname Sunshine.
Yeah,
or at least for me, he did. The greatest part of that, and we're over on our time, but we're going to talk for just a few more minutes about it. The greatest part of that movie, I think, is when he has them running and they end up at Gettysburg, the battlefield of Gettysburg, and he talks about the racial divide in the town and the team, and he's like, men died on this field for us to have the right to play together, and that's just a great, to me at least, is a great story as far as that goes.
Yeah, it is. That is a great moment.
And did that movie have Ryan Reynolds in it? Was it Ryan Reynolds or was it the guy that played corner in the movie? It wasn't Ryan Reynolds. It was somebody else.
I'm so bad at names. What movie is he in besides? What movie is he known for? Yeah, that's who that corner is.
Yeah,
that's his name.
Yeah, every girl likes him, but every guy remembers him being an absolute liability.
Liability at corner. Oh man, he was terrible. His dad didn't think so though. His dad thought he should be starting.
Absolutely.
But every dad I guess is going to be that way. But
I don't think it's Ryan Reynolds, but whoever the actor is,
I can't.
Every girl remembers him, but every guy remembers he was an absolute liability at corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Left side. Strong side.
That's another good moment too.
I love
That's another one of my favorites. There's a lot of good parts though. I think my favorite part of the movie is, and I think it's in the playoff game. They were getting beat, and they shift gears, and they're making something happen. And Julius Campbell, one of the defensive ends, sacks the quarterback.
Right.
And he stands over and points to him and says, "You better get comfortable down there,
right.
Real comfortable,
real comfortable."
And that is one of my favorite. And that moment, and then and I know this was the playoff. Actually, it might have been the championship game. Now that I think about it, when the coach, the former coach that became the defense coordinator,
right.
and I can't remember his name either,
right.
But he calls the timeout. He has that legendary speech.
Right.
You make sure they remember forever the night they played the
Titans. Not another yard.
Not another yard. Yeah.
I do remember that.
If they gain another yard, I'm pulling every last one of you out.
and the reason we're spending so much time on this is this is actually the only movie on both of our lists, so we can kind of agree that this movie deserves to be a top.
Oh, no doubt.
Top 5 movie all time.
No doubt.
Sports related.
And I'm amazed that he didn't have it in the list.
I know.
And when I'm watching that take, shout out to Michael Irvin. I may end up tweeting that to him too.
Right.
But shout out to Michael Irvin. He actually was like, "Remember the Titans? How do you not have Remember the Titans on the list?"
Absolutely.
And he's right.
He's absolutely
How does
right.
Stephen A? How do you not have Remember the Titans on the list?
I mean, mine's at 3, but it's at least on the list.
I mean, there's got to be Any Given Sunday I'll Give You is a great movie.
Oh yeah, it is a movie.
Friday Night Lights is a great movie. All these are good movies, but honestly, if I'm going to knock one, I guess I'm going to probably drop Jerry Maguire
Absolutely.
Put Friday Night Lights in there.
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire's a great movie, but you're telling me Jerry Maguire's better than
the
money. Help me, help you.
That's good.
But you're telling me that's better than Friday Night Lights?
No, it's
no,
not. It's not.
No, it is not.
It's not. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for us. Make sure that you go to YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Our handles are there on the screen at Famisphere and at Gridiron Gurus. If you guys have any questions, guys, you can submit those to the Anchor app if you're listening to it on the podcast, or you can tweet at us, send us a message, whatever. We'd love to have your opinions. Love to discuss them. If you're a fan and feel like you're a super fan, want to be on the show and talk to us, guys, let us know.
Absolutely.
Hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook. Let us know in the Anchor app, whatever you want to do, in the YouTube comments, whatever. But we'd love to have the discussion with any fan. Just as a college football fan, love to hear different opinions, whether they're right or wrong. Mine might be wrong, yours might be wrong. We don't know. We'd love to have it, love to discuss it.
A cool thing that I think would be a neat addition, if we could do it, if we could somehow add a call-in segment.
Absolutely.
If we could add a call-in segment and get some of these fans to call in, just chop it up for a few minutes,
Right.
And I think that would be really cool.
I think it would be kind of
if
cool.
we could figure that out, which we're still working on our technical issues
Right.
we got, guys. So.
But we're light years ahead of where we started at. So.
Absolutely.
But anyways, that's it for us. Guys, make sure that, like I said, you leave a comment. Let us know something in the Anchor app. Anything that you guys want to do to communicate with us, we're open to it. But that's it for us. Thanks, guys.